and welcome back into the Denver Sports Betting Show. I'm your host, Anthony Gabriel. You know me as Shamlocks. Got alongside here, I got my man Garrett from Tailgate Sports. We got Dylan, BetsInDenver. Special guest as well today, Bo Scaife, former Texas Longhorn, former Tennessee Titan. Bo, thanks for coming on the show today. Love to have you aboard.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Good deal. Well, we're going to have some fun. I'm glad we have you on the show today because that's what we were kind of talking about beforehand. I'd love to get former players' perspectives on getting that side of the living through it. So I think perfect opportunity. Let's get right to it. Thursday night game is going to be the Broncos hosting the Raiders. So tell me how difficult it is, having that quick turnaround for players, because we talk about it as analysts and guys that are looking at those angles. But for you living it, how hard is it to just turn around and play a game Sunday and then have a game Thursday night and have that not have all that recovery time?
Well, the league is definitely a lot lighter now than it used to be. So they're always, they're always putting things in place to help the players and kind of lighten the load a little bit. The turnaround is, it is short, but when you're playing your rival, you really don't think about that.
Right.
Like, let's go out there and do some damage to the Raiders. Everyone hates the Raiders here in Denver, so I'm sure the guys, will be juiced up, ready to go. They're riding high right now, so they don't want to take any step backs when it comes to that, especially against their rival. I mean, that's the worst thing that can happen to their momentum is to lose to the Raiders. So I'm sure that's what the coaches are preaching to them. I'm sure that's what the captains and the vets on the team are talking about, like not having a letdown, because these are the games where you might see a letdown.
Right. Yeah, no time to be tired. We're still, only halfway through the season yet. We see, later in the year that maybe has a little bit more of an impact. Yep. Legs aren't as fresh. But I want to get your guys' angle on this game because we got the Broncos laying the big number, 8.5 point favorites, 42.5 is the total. Saw some signs of life from the Raiders. Obviously, they got the big Bruce getting Bowers back in the lineup. Yep. Plays on this, angles on this. What do you guys see going into the Thursday night game? Garrett, start with you.
I played a little bit of the Raiders plus 9.5 here. These short weeks, especially inter-division rivalries, that feels like a big number to me, right? Kind of dipped down to 8.5, so I got on the right side of that one. We know Pat Surtain, he's going to be out. Riley Moss, he's highly questionable. We'll have to check out the practice reports when they come out today. So there's a chance the Broncos could be down both their starting corners in this game. The Raiders, like you said, got Brock Bowers back. He looked great last week. I think that really helps them unlock that level of their offense that we haven't seen so far really this year. The key to this total and spread, in my opinion, is going to be what will the Raiders do in the red zone, okay? According to the data from our friends at Outlier.bet, the Raiders, they only convert 45% of their red zone trips into touchdowns. That's the fourth worst rate in the league, okay? And then on the other side, Denver, they're the number one defense in red zone efficiency, okay? So they're only giving up touchdowns on 34% of their red zone trips. So if both starting quarterbacks are out for Denver, though, with Brock Bowers back in the mix, I think we could see the Raiders kind of hang in there. So I could only look towards the Raiders in this spot.
I'm kind of disagreeing with you. I think the Broncos, what we've seen them do is just they beat up on the bad teams. And Geno, while he's, him and Carroll went out on the limb, brought him in, and you get him out of his comfort zone. And with that weak offensive line, I think it's going to be a long day for Denver. I'd look at Genty unders because the game script, I think Raiders are going to be coming from behind. Look for his rushing unders, maybe passing overs or over receptions because he's going to get a lot of those dump offs because he's just not going to have a lot of time. But I think I lean to the Broncos again. Short week as we talked about for the Raiders having to make the travel, but they also went in overtime too and played a full extra quarter as well. That's too. True. So I mean they definitely. Having the short week to prepare, I would lean towards the Broncos. Dylan, what about you?
I'm also on the Broncos here. You pretty much just took all the words out of my mouth. I mean, Broncos, Surtain's going to be out, but they allow just 4.1 yards per play, second best in the NFL. Vegas struggles under pressure, ranks bottom tier in red zone efficiency, like Garrett was saying. Sean Payton, 8-3 against the spread as a favorite of 7 or more points, and his team has covered 5 of 7 this year. I expect Denver to kind of control the tempo through their defense and short field efficiency here. I really don't know if the Raiders have enough to get it done here. I'm on Ashton Genty under 55.5 rushing yards with you. I am going to take Brock Bowers anytime TD and J.K. Dobbins anytime TD too.
I like it. Bo, what do you think?
The Broncos have been showing, a lot of energy in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So, when I think about
Mm-hmm.
that, I think the game's going to be close all the way to the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are they going to be able to continue to pull it out in the fourth quarter every time? Like, the odds versus that aren't
Mm-hmm.
very good. There's going to have some weeks where they're going to have to drop off on that. So, I don't think they're going to cover that this week. And, like I said, they always in the NFL, the inter-division rivals, like those games are always
Good
close.
point.
They always come down to the last couple possessions. You hope Bo comes out and plays his best game, but what if he he doesn't play so well? So, it's all about the quarterback play.
I agree. And a lot of times what you see while they're making, those fourth quarter comebacks, I think you got to give a lot of credit to Sean Payton because that's coaching. That's where it shows up. And we saw it in the Houston game. Like when they punted it late, why you don't go to overtime. They gave him Davis Mills is not going to drive the ball down the field on that defense. And it's the old cliche that stupid loses more than smart wins.
Yep.
And that's what Peyton is kind of doing, is letting the other teams make the mistakes. And I think that is the biggest, Carroll is a great coach. Maybe he's a little bit, games passed him by a little bit, but it is a big number for a division rivalry. I probably, I like more the Genty unders as my favorite bets. If you had to pick a side, I'd say Broncos, but that is a big number for a division rivalry. So we'll see. So that's the Thursday night game. Let's move on to Sunday. One of the big games, a rematch of a prior Thursday night game. We got the Rams and the Niners. If you remember, this was that Thursday night game where the number really, really steamed up. We were looking at a 4.5. Then all the injuries came for San Fran. Poor Niners. I mean, they just keep getting injured. We're seeing a 3.5, 4-point dog. Over unders 50. The Rams look like a terror in the NFC, possible Super Bowl contender here. Dylan, let me start with you. Where are you leaning on this game?
I'm on the 49ers here. San Francisco 6-3, 2-1 at home. Even with all the injuries, the Rams' road wins came against Tennessee, Baltimore without Lamar Jackson, Jacksonville. I mean, that's not really like elite teams. And Christian McCaffrey has just been great. Been the whole 49ers offense. And did you know his longest run this year has only been 16 yards?
Yeah, that's wild.
Which is just insane. He's still responsible for over
all the volume, right?
Responsible for over a third of their total yards this season still. Rams defense allows under 100 rushing yards per game, but I think McCaffrey's versatility is what's really going to keep them in this matchup. I'm not saying that necessarily they're going to win, but they won the last game. I just expect another close game like the Week 4 overtime meeting.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, McCaffrey's versatility. He's 5th in the league in rushing yards, but he's like 7th in the league in receiving yards. So that's why he's up there at the top of the board on Offensive Player of the Year. But for me, this comes down to what we're going to get out of this 49ers offense. I don't know if Brock Purdy's going to go or if it's Mac Jones. It kind of doesn't really matter. I don't think there's a big drop-off there either way.
Sounded like Mac.
You think Mac?
It sounded like they're going to not rush him back with. Do you ever have turf toe or deal with turf toe?
Yeah, I'm dealing with it right now today.
He's still questionable.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I mean, it's something you don't rush back.
Yeah. And it sounds so comical. It's like it's a toe. How bad could it hurt? But it's obviously
it hurts.
worse than it's happened. But this 49ers defense, they're obviously, like you said, decimated with the injuries. They cannot generate pressure on the quarterback. Again, tapping into our main resource here, Outlier.bet, they say the 49ers, they're bottom 4th in quarterback sacks, quarterback hits, and quarterback pressures, okay? And then we know the Rams on the other side of the ball, they're one of the best passing offenses in the league. They lead the league in passing yards per game, actually. So I think Stafford, they're going to keep him clean in this one. They're optimistic Puka's going to play. I saw a report right before we came on air that it looks good. So I think he's going to go. The Rams offense should have a field day here against this defense. I think even though on the road they're just taking the trip to Santa Clara, not a far travel for them. So I know we've seen Shanahan in this matchup pull the rabbit out of his hat like he did in that Thursday night game and keep games close. But I like the Rams here. I think they should, just on paper, they should be able to score as many points as they want here. And I don't know if 49ers can keep up.
I agree. I think this could be one of those that's close early, and then you see the the Rams start to pull away late because they are the deeper team. They're the healthier team, and these are two teams though that know each other very, very well. Yeah. But how much can how the Niners going to score? I mean, they are just so decimated with these injuries, and I think over time. Shanahan's just not going to have enough buttons to push to counter what the Rams and McVay are doing. So they saw Kendrick Bourne turn into an All-Pro the first go around. I don't think that's going to happen this time. So I think the Rams are going to take care of business. They're looking like one of the more complete teams in the NFC. Bo, what do you think?
Not so fast, my friend.
Give me the Corso.
Not so fast. Kyle's one of my best friends. We grew up together, played at Texas together. I've been following him since he's been the coach for the Niners.
He's one of the best.
This is a chess match all the time.
Yep.
And, one thing that you guys failed to mention is, his record versus McMay.
Yeah.
So, he has that number.
He does.
Versus McMay. He understands, how he thinks. They both understand each other very, very well. And there's a reason why they always find a way to win in these close games, even when their rosters are decimated. So, I got to pull with the Denver kid. I got to pull with the Niners. Obviously, Christian's going to be very, very active in the game.
Sure.
Kyle knows how to use the play action and get the quarterback to find the open guys. And, Salah in that defense, they always find ways to create turnovers and make plays when it matters. So, we usually don't see the Rams have those type of bad games, but we see it against the Niners. So, that's why I got to go with the Niners.
You got me rethinking it.
That was my biggest pause, though,
Right.
just the coaching matchup. Like they just outpunch their weight with the players they have. It's
a chess match.
Yeah.
And, you don't. There's
That
not a lot
system,
of games.
that's why we've seen Mac Jones step right in and pick up. And
no
There's
drop
not
off.
a lot of
Yeah.
times in the NFL where you really see the coaches and how much their coaching matters, like via 1-versus-1.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in this matchup, you can truly see how, a coach like Kyle out-coaches the other guy on the other sideline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's going to be a good one. Like you said, every time these teams do get together, Kyle has gotten kind of the best of the Rams. So especially at home, now you got me.
I know. It gives me a little pause.
rethinking it a little bit. That's going to be a good one. That's kind of the prime matchup in the afternoon. But let's go to Monday Night Football. We got Packers and Eagles. Packers, I just can't figure them out. Like they go to Pittsburgh, and Love has 20 completions, and then they lay an egg at home against Carolina. So they're a team that just kind of figures, plays up or down to their competition. And then the Eagles have kind of been this year's version of the Chiefs, where they've sort of been getting by in these close games. We know the talent they had. Howie, they just made some more moves here at the trade deadline. But Bo, I'm going to start with you in this game. When you see teams like the Packers, who seem to have the talent but play down to their competition, where they've had some weird losses, like against the Browns or against the Panthers, and then they go and beat a great Lions team, or they beat some of these top teams in the league. Is that a product of coaching, or why do you see these kind of letdowns in those spots like that when you have the better team? Why can't you just? I know it's the league, and anything can happen, and they got talent and pros on the other side.
Yeah, it's hard to say, and that's the $1 million question. Is how do we prevent these letdowns? I guarantee you, the coaches are saying everything, the vets are saying everything they need to say, but it's all about that performance on Sunday. Usually, the team that's the underdog doesn't have the pressure on them, so that's why they're usually able to always rise to the occasion, especially in the big games. So Green Bay should come out and be ready. The Eagles just play their game. They're not complicated. They're not hard to figure out, but they're hard to stop when they're on. So how do you disrupt them where they have a bad day and Jalen isn't getting the completions he did, and maybe you're moving the ball on their defense and making some plays? Like, that's the part to figure out. So I'm picking Eagles. Obviously, they're just
going with the champs.
Steady.
Yeah,
they're just steady, and to beat them, you really got to out physical. You really got to beat them up, and that's hard for teams to do.
Going with the Eagles. Dylan, what do you think?
I'm also with the Eagles here, especially coming off a bye, rested, trending up. Jalen Hurts is red hot, 71% completions, 10 TDs, 1 interception over the last 4 games. Barkley and A.J. Brown will both be healthy. Green Bay looked flat in last week's loss to the Panthers. They lost Tucker Kraft for the season. I do think Musgrave may be even a better fit for that scheme, but it's the first game he's going to be playing, so I don't like that they lost Tucker Kraft either. Eagles ranked 4th in opponent passer rating and just added Jalen Phillips to bolster their pass rush. Love holds the ball entirely too long, as we saw last week. It's a bad matchup versus a rested physical defense. Philly 4-1 against the spread off a bye under Sirianni. Green Bay 0-3 against the spread, last 3 as home favorites. I think the Packers kind of look fragile and vulnerable. Eagles look fresh and healthy and trending up. I don't mind taking Philly plus 2.5 here.
Yep, there's nothing I could really add that you guys haven't said already as far as the matchup's concerned. If you're looking at just the market and the price, I think 2.5 is pretty exactly fair. There are some injury concerns in this game. If I see a 3 pop with Philly, I'd probably jump on that, certainly. But I did make a small play on the over 44 at minus 120 or better. I'm just kind of anticipating that Barkley and A.J. Brown coming off the bye. I think they're more likely to play than not. And once they get announced in and that hits the board, I think we're going to see this number tick up a little bit. So I played it for that reason, but I didn't do anything on the side.
I'm kind of leaning the other way. I think I'm kind of thinking more under in this game because we've seen the defense of these teams kind of outperform the offense.
Yeah.
They've been the more reliable side of the ball. So I think I'm kind of leaning more towards under if I was going to make a play there. And in these primetime Monday night island spots, for whatever reason, why do we see these Sunday night games so many go under or primetime games when do you notice that?
Like bright lights?
Why is it tend to lean towards a low scoring? Is it just because they feeling each other out a little bit or nerves or it just seems like the primetime games tend to be lower scoring.
Yeah, I mean, unless we're talking about Buffalo and Kansas City or something like that, like I said, it's hard to tell. The guys are trying so hard out there. Everybody's trying so hard to win.
Mm-hmm.
This is the midway point where, it's either make or break in these next couple of weeks. Like, you're either going to make your playoff push or you're going to start working on that draft position.
Yeah.
So, we know from Green Bay's standpoint, like they have to come out here and play well.
Yeah.
The offense is the strong point of their team. They got good skill players. They got a good quarterback. He needs to start playing like he's being paid to play.
Yeah, he did not have a good game last Sunday. Packers still never punted. I mean, when you look at the yards they put up against the Panthers, just a weird game. I mean, they totally outgained them, outplayed them. But then when you get in the red zone, like we see with defense, they'll let you move it between the 20s. But then you get in the red zone. That's where these games in the NFL are won and lost.
Eagles are bullies,
right?
Yeah. This isn't really the style of game that Green Bay likes to play. So it's going to be interesting to see how they really match up against a physical team like the Eagles. We know Saquon's going to get the ball, especially after last week. I mean, the last game that they played. So, are they going to be able to match that physicality and the energy that Eagles always play with on offense and defense?
Yeah, definitely a good one. I think that'll be the game of the week. Before we take a break, kind of go around the horn here. Best bets or also any kind of, whether it's a coach of the year market or Super Bowl future division odds. Dylan, let me start with you. Is there somebody that you're looking at? I mean, this MVP race, it seems like it's just a rotating spot as who's going to be the favorite, the MVP. My boy JT, he took a step back. We were all pulling for our running back to kind of break through and not be a quarterback this year, but it's looking like a quarterback award. Dylan, you got any bets?
I don't have anything
futures?
On MVP just because I don't even know who's going to win it at this point. It just seems like no one's the far and away favorite. I mean, I really do want Jonathan Taylor to win it. Seeing a running back win it would be fun, but I just don't know. I mean, I have futures on Baker, so I'm going to be pulling for him. But as for best bets, I'm going to be on Carolina -5.5 versus the Saints. Carolina's 3-1 at home, and this Saints team has just scored 27 points in their last 3 games combined. Bryce Young has really found a rhythm behind a solid ground game in Carolina with Rico Dowdle, who rushed for 130 yards, 2 TDs last week, 3rd in rushing yards in the NFL, I believe. Saints averages 15.3 points a game. I think Carolina's defense should really thrive here and kind of smother an anemic Saints offense. I like Carolina -5.5 this week.
Carolina -5. Who you got?
My best bet is Patriots Buccaneers over 48 -115. Both these teams, they have pass funnel defenses. Okay, they both have top 10 rushing defenses and bottom 10 passing defenses, and both their defense are also bottom 10 in defensive red zone efficiency. So I think both teams are gonna have to air it out and throw the ball here, which obviously leads to more explosives, more incomplete passes, stop the clock. You get a more play volume. And then I think both these teams are going to be able to kind of pay it off when they get into the red zone here. So I think we see a lot of cannons getting fired off on Tampa Bay on Sunday.
Tampa Bay. My best bet is going to be the Arizona Cardinals +6.5. They made the announcement that Brissett is going to be the starter. We saw it on Monday night. I think this team operates and functions better with him at quarterback. I think the Cardinals kind of get they kind of get the bad rap because how they let that game get away against Tennessee. That's all everybody thinks about. But when you look at this team, they finally broke their 5-game winning streak, but those 5 losses were all, it was a 1-point loss to the Niners. The first time they played Seattle, it was a 3-point game. They played nothing but close games. I think they look more confident with Brissett as the quarterback. So I'll take the 6.5 in one of those division rivalry games that we talked about. So give me the Cardinals +6.5. Bo, what do you think? You got any MVP thoughts, MVP picks? Or
my sleeper right now is going to be Drake May.
Drake May, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's really a sleeper. I mean, he's playing awesome right now. But,
like a third favorite.
This is where, you're going to see that push, from the guys who's going to win. Whoever's going to win is about to go ham these next, 7-8 weeks. So it's going to be exciting because, everyone wants to see points. Everyone wants to see, all the yards and stuff. So this is going to be an exciting second half.
And the Pats have had a pretty favorable schedule, too, where he's been able to kind of show off his talent, too. So it's going to be a great second half of the season. We do have to take a quick break. We're going to talk some college ball right after this on the Denver Sports Betting Show. And welcome back into the Denver Sports Betting Show. This portion of the show is brought to us by our friends over at Stir Pan Creamery. I love ice cream. We all love ice cream. Why not get the best ice cream there is on the planet? And that's what our friends at Stir Pan, 2 locations. Get your roll on. Is that what Gilly says? Get your roll on. Get your Stir Pan on. Go there. Get some ice cream. Let's get right to it. College football. We're getting down. It's in November. These are the times when we see some wacky upsets and people start separating themselves. So let's get right to it. Your boys, Texas Tech, big favorites against the Mormons, against BYU, laying 10 at home. Totals about 52.5. I know where you're leaning here.
Yeah, you guys think I'm on BYU here? Come on, man.
Oh, he's good. There's the hat.
We've talked about this spot for weeks. Yeah, take it with a grain of salt, but honestly, the Mormon magic carpet ride, it comes to an end this Saturday in Lubbock. Come on, I love Texas Tech minus 9.5 here. I'd play that up to minus 120 or better. As I've been saying all year, this Texas Tech team is obviously my darling, and I've been looking for a spot to fade this BYU team, and that spot has arrived, gentlemen. It is this Saturday. This Texas Tech defense, they've allowed the fewest rushing yards in the country, and they've also delivered the most hits on quarterbacks this year. That's not going to bode well for this BYU team that relies on running with their quarterback, okay? BYU has been smoke and mirrors with their fluky turnovers and their just unsustainable defensive red zone efficiency. Baron Morton, quarterback for Texas Tech, he's back. He looked great last week. He's fully healthy. I think they're going to carve up that BYU team or that BYU defense. So I think get your tortillas ready, guns up, Texas Tech by a zillion on Saturday. Let's go.
Game day there, the first time there since the Crabtree game.
It's going to be jumping, man, I'll tell you.
It's been a while. And then this is, I talked about it a couple weeks ago. I said, I hope BYU runs the table.
Yes.
If you remember, it was a couple weeks ago, because I want them to land in this spot, and you're going to see undefeated BYU getting 10 points. That's a big number against Tech, and I agree. I think this is where the magic comes in for BYU. There's a reason why we saw the playoffs, polls come out last night. There's a reason why BYU is 120-1, and everybody else is like 10-1 to 11-1. This is not the Big 12 from Bo's days where games were going 55, 65 points. Texas Tech, they are really good in the trenches. They play great defense, and I just think they're too big, too physical for BYU. I'm on Tech as well. This will be a big one, minus the 10. Dylan?
I do think this is where Tech loses, but I'm actually on the BYU spread because I worry about a back door here because BYU's turnover margin in second half scoring 10.4 points per game in the four, 6 nationally, keeps them alive in every single matchup they play. I think Tech will jump out early, but I think BYU's balance. I mean, 216 passing and 216 rushing yards per game, and their fourth quarter consistency is what's going to keep it close here. And I just think this is you get an undefeated team catching double digits. I'd like BYU here.
All right, Bo, you're a former Longhorn. Can you get behind the Red Raiders here?
Yeah, I'm dead. There's no way the Red Raiders are losing it.
Yeah, let's go.
As someone who's been hit with tortillas in Lubbock,
I'd probably do it.
We were beating the crap out of them though, so that's why they were pissed off and throwing at them. It's a tough place to play, and I don't think anyone really worries about the threat of BYU, especially if Tech jumps out, which that's what they're built to do. They're built to score often, score fast. BYU isn't built to come back and play that type of game. They don't like playing the tempo. They don't like coming back from big leads or big margins and stuff like that. So, hopefully they can keep it close. That's the only chance they have of actually winning and covering the spread. But, this is 2-touchdown game easy.
I agree. Their style is front runners, and they're not built to come from behind. So I think Tech will get on them early and step on their throat, and they're not going to have a chance to come back.
If you're live betting this game, if Texas Tech got out to a big lead, maybe just keep hammering Texas Tech.
Yeah, they're going to keep hammering them. So we're all on Tech except Dylan, but he does think Texas Tech's going to win the game. So big one in the Big Ten. Oregon going to Iowa. Iowa getting 6 points at home. listen, I said it a couple weeks ago that Oregon was not going to make the playoffs. I took Oregon not to make the playoffs. I took a bunch of crap for it because then they just went out and blew the doors off of Rutgers. Well, I was not Rutgers here. So Oregon to miss the playoffs is still about plus 170. But again, I think in the spot, I'm a little nervous because this is kind of a trendy dog upset.
Yeah.
But I just think, again, the style that Iowa plays, we know that what they're going to do. It's Ferenc. It's not flashy. They're going to play good defense. They're going to punt, play ball control, limit the possessions. And I just still don't know about this Oregon team. We saw them get out physicaled when they played Indiana at home. And not to do the transitive property here, but when IU went to Iowa, they only put up 20 points on Iowa. I think this Iowa team continues to get better on offense. They're great at home, and I just think they're kind of getting slept on here. So I will take Iowa plus the 6.
That makes me feel good. I haven't said this often in my lifetime, but I'm excited to watch an Iowa football game this weekend, okay? I don't feel strongly about this one, but catching a touchdown as a home dog here feels pretty good with Iowa. It's at 6. You can maybe find a juice 6.5 out there. If for some reason a 7 pops in front of my screen, I'll certainly take that. But for now, I'll find sitting on the sidelines on this one. But home dog or pass for me here.
I'm on Iowa here. Oregon opened at 6.5, dropped to 6 despite 70% of the bets being on Oregon. Just a lot of sharp action on Iowa. The total dropped from 43.5 to 41.5. The weather's going to be bad. There's going to be lots of defense. Oregon scored only 21 points against Wisconsin. Iowa's defense ranks 5th nationally in scoring, 2nd in yards per play. And this Iowa Stadium in November is just a trap for road favorites. I mean, they're 9-1 straight up at home in the last 10. They dominate the trenches. Oregon's flashy, but this Iowa defense is going to make it a grinded out game. I like Iowa plus 6 here, and I also lean the under.
First time there's been a ranked matchup in that stadium in 6 years.
Oh, really?
Which is crazy to think.
So it's going to be jumping.
It's going to be jumping. It's going to be juiced up. But who you got?
I mean, you got to imagine that Iowa's excited to play and host a game like this.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that might factor in is that it's the hospital, man. Mm-hmm. You got all the sick kids watching, praying for a W. There's so much energy around that type of stuff. There's so much energy in those home games, especially when you got the big teams and the big schools like Oregon coming in. So, I expect Iowa to keep it close and probably pull out in the end.
And we're probably pulling for a little Iowa upset to knock the Ducks out to get your horns, kind of keep moving up the rankings as well, too.
We'll take care of that ourselves. We don't need no help.
Well, we'll get the little CFP talk. Before then, one more game we got. Another Texas team. We got the Aggies, number 3 in the latest CFP poll against Mizzou. I put this out on the chat to take A&M minus the 7. It continues to kind of creep up. I see some 7.5s out there. Mm-hmm. And then after the playoffs polls came out, I think there's going to be a little bit of added motivation here for the Aggies because they have a good a case as anybody to think be the number 1 team. So I think they'll be playing with a little bit of chip on their shoulder. Style points are going to matter because if they do lose a game here down the stretch, they could still be in that top 4 and get the bye. But I think this is more of for me, it's a play against Mizzou. People forget because they had the bye week. Pabula's out. He got hurt in that Vanderbilt game, so now they got to start a true freshman making his home start for a Mizzou team that I'm not really that impressed with to begin with. And I think A&M is for real. They're legit on both sides of the ball. So I'm sticking with A&M minus the 7.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is actually, teaser to the best bets. Like, this is my favorite bet of the week because this game has a lot of variance, right? And I'm actually going to ladder this A&M to win by 13.5, 16.5. I think this could get ugly because there's just a lot of variance there. Like you said, Mizzou's playing with their 3rd string freshman quarterback making his first start. Matt Zollers is his name.
You don't want to do that against A&M.
Not against A&M. Texas A&M leads the country in sacks per game. They average 4 sacks every single game. Missouri, they're bottom half in the country in allowing sacks. So certainly I think A&M's going to be able to heat him up a little bit here in his first start. And I think their game plan is going to be like, let's make this kid beat us. And we'll see if he can. And I think speaking to a live betting thing, I think it's going to be a good game to live bet too. I think this game is going to reveal itself pretty early. If Zollers, he looks good and he's able to move the ball and they have good protection up front, then okay, maybe I'll get off some of my A&M positions. But if A&M just getting after him and he's flustered, I'm going to just keep piling on A&M here because I do think they cover the touchdown here on the road and I think it could get ugly quick.
So who you got?
I'm also on A&M here. Like Garrett said about the sacks, they're number 1 in the nation in sacks. Their rush defense only allowing 3 yards per carry, which ranks 3rd nationally. It's going to neutralize any Missouri ground game that they'll have. And a 3rd-string quarterback, Aggies rank 1st on 3rd down defense. I think they're going to force them into predictable passing downs. Missouri 1-3-1 against the spread in its last 5. This is a veteran A&M team that's chasing the playoffs. They're playing they're a fading home underdog. A&M's battle tested in the SEC. I just don't see Mizzou pulling this off with a third-string quarterback.
Bo, you gonna make it a sweep?
I mean, listen, I hate to say this too, man. I'm so anti-Aggie.
Gig 'em.
Yeah, but we got to go with just being smart. There's no way a third-string freshman quarterback is going to come in against one of the best teams in the country and have a field day and lead a team to a win. Like, you said that if he moves the ball, he's not moving the ball. They're going to terrorize him. Like, the coach is already talking about that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't let him breathe in these type of games. That's how you get him out early, and then everything else is smooth sailing. So, I mean, I figure that's what we can expect. Just jump on them early, and there's really nothing they're going to be able to do.
Got bet with our wallet, now with our heart.
Yeah.
Yep. Smart man.
So we made it a sweep for the Aggies. Let's get time to our best bet here, and we'll give our kind of final CFP thoughts before we hand it off to the UFC guys. Garrett, what's your best bet for the weekend?
I mean, just run it back what I just said about Texas A&M. So my favorite bets of the week are Texas Tech minus 9.5, Texas A&M minus 6.5. I did play some LSU plus 10.5, kind of banking on the Brian Kelly bump. They play Alabama. Alabama's going through this gauntlet. Maybe this is their exhale spot. I think LSU kind of gives a spirited effort here. Yep. But for best bet purposes, for record tracking and stuff, I like Texas A&M minus 6.5 quite a bit.
I agree.
I'm on USC minus 14 versus Northwestern. USC undefeated at home, averaging nearly 40 points a game. Northwestern scoring around 20 points per game. I just don't think that's going to hold up against the Trojans at home. We've seen all year how good they are at home. Their defense is finally showing live, too. They allowed just 6 second-half points at Nebraska. Northwestern ranks 129th in plays per minute. I just think they're going to have an inability to create explosive drives, and this is also a Friday night travel spot to USC. We know how loud that stadium gets. I like USC here minus 14.
USC minus 14. I think they again they're still in the hunt too for the CFP. As Garrett was talking about making a best bet, I had somebody DM me, "What's your favorite of all the bets?" And it's so hard to narrow it down to one. I said I like them all. I'm putting them all out there. If I have a max unit play or something like that, I'll let you know. But they're all going to be in the chat. Make sure you're joining the chat if you're not there. Coming off another great weekend, went 9-2 on my CFP sides. Best bet. One that's kind of off the board and one kind of off the radar. UConn Huskies. UConn plus 9.5 against Duke, because this is one that Duke, we just saw the rankings, not in the top 25. However, Duke is the favorite to win the ACC. Yep. They control their own destiny in the ACC. So this game, they step out of conference against UConn. In the big picture, it's meaningless. They really don't have to win this game to get to the CFP. And they're playing a UConn team who, their quarterback, Joe Fagnano, 22 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, which is wild. I had to check that 3 times. UConn 6-3 this year. All 3 losses have been in overtime. And I love backing a coach like Jim Moore in this spot for when you're giving the Power 4 conference, come to your place. This game's at UConn. But like I said, it's a meaningless game. Meanwhile, on the other side, Duke had the miracle, and I do mean miracle, win against Clemson. First time they've won at Clemson in 45 years. I mean, they had a 100-yard kickoff return. They were 5 for 5 on 4th downs. Got very fortunate with the PI call. So, Ken, you can do the graphic of the sandwich spot here because, again, they're coming off of that big win. They got Virginia on deck next week, which will decide a lot in the ACC. So I will take the UConn Huskies plus 9.5 and even a little bit money line plus 280. Bo, who's your favorite game of the weekend?
I can get on both of the bets they said, SC and A&M. I mean, those are pretty safe. I mean, my bet of the week is Texas upsetting Georgia. So that's what I'm rolling with, and I can't wait to watch.
I think if they take care of business against Georgia, they got the opportunity against A&M. They're definitely going to be there in the end.
And this is the letdown game right here. This is the letdown game, and Texas were still on the rise. We had a big win against Vandy. That was a tough matchup
almost
right there.
We got a little hairy there in the fourth quarter.
You've got to just find a way to win, and that's how you build that character. So this is the time right now in college football to start getting hot, and we're going to see some really, really good games coming up.
Yeah, I agree. November, like I said, that's where we have some wacky games. So we're going to keep. I love it. All the debate, all the banter about who's going to be in, going to be out, and there's so many scenarios of who can kind of play their way in and play their way out. So before we get out of here, Bo, I want to thank you again for coming on. Tell us a little about AP Plus.
Oh yeah, so this is my cannabis company. It's called All Pro. We are actually opening our flagship store November 21st All Pro Cannabis. It's on 1233 West Alameda. So I would love for you guys to all come on, and we got some nice treats and stuff for everybody over there. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, we will come find you. Make sure you go find Bo as well. Thank you again for coming on. We'll have to do this again. Make sure you follow Dylan at BetsInDenver, Tailgate Sports, myself at Sham_Locks. We'll see everybody next week for the Denver Sports Betting Show. Gilly may or may not be here next week. We'll see. But we will be here next week, Denver Sports Betting Show. Thanks, guys.
Guns up.